David is on the line in South Carolina. Wants to talk about Israel. Hey, David.
Hello. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, a couple of things. I would like to somewhat piggyback on the individual that talked about Israel not always being right.
Okay.
I would like to take it a step further. I think in the recent situation, they were mostly wrong. Not Israel, but the government of Netanyahu. It seemed as if those people, the children over in Gaza, and the people were relegated to a position of being less than human. And I want to draw a parallel.
Isn't that always what happens in war? I mean, the other side in every war is always dehumanized and not seen as they're seen as fundamentally different than us. It's like an us versus them thing. Yes,
and the thing about that is there's those among us that so readily embrace any and everything that Israel does. So we do the same thing. We look at them as less than human also. And then when you come here stateside and you look at the police shootings and things of that nature, the officer out in Ferguson, Missouri, all of a sudden he became the most protected. And then you look at the person that shot the officers in Pennsylvania, now he's the most wanted. It's like, what is going on? You know, aren't we citizens? Aren't we to be protected?
Yeah, not anymore. It's pretty clear from the Supreme Court decisions that the government doesn't have any obligation to protect people, even though they claim that being a citizen means that you owe your allegiance in exchange for being protected.
One thing that states are excellent at doing is separating people, having them, pitting them against each other.
Governments, you mean?
Yeah.
Governments do that. It's women versus men. It's black versus white. It's Republicans versus Democrats. It's young people versus old people. When really, it's the real conflict is the government versus us.
That's it.
So basically, they have embraced the Willie Lynch assertion, pitting us against each other. And I ask you,
what's Willie Lynch? Sorry, what is that?
Willie Lynch.
Yeah.
Willie Lynch was back in, I believe it was the 16 and 1700s. He was talking to the American slave owners and gave recommendations to them as to how to keep their slaves in line. You pit the short against the tall, the dark against the light skin, the ones that work in the field against the ones that work in the house. Mm. And he said, I guarantee you'll be able to control these people for the next 300 plus years.
Wow. There's so much truth to that statement, sort of divide and conquer.
It's still in effect today.
Yeah.
And what do we do as a people when we see now that these police, they will come after any of us. We don't have to be committing any crime. You know, I try to be a law-abiding citizen, but I'm 59 years old now, and I'm afraid of the police.
Well,
I
mean, honestly,
what does that say when you're scared of the police who are supposed to be protecting you?
Sure. I mean, the first thing I want to just comment on something earlier real quick is that as much as there is dissension within government and disagreement within government in the U.S., that exists in Israel as well. It never gets publicized in America for some reason, but there's plenty of people there who don't want America involved.
Absolutely.
They don't want big government. There's a lot of very libertarian leanings and thoughts
David
and
did
organization.
Point that out. He said the government of Israel.
Right. But there's people in the government of Israel that are libertarian is comparable to, libertarians in politics in the U.S. So I want to point that out. But as far as like what you can do, I mean, the only thing one of the most beautiful things I saw against police brutality was on Twitter when the New York Police Department said, hey, use hashtag MyNYPD, okay? And we want to see the wonderful associations, the wonderful, moments you've had with our police department. What happened is everybody on Twitter started posting every police brutality video and picture that the NYPD ever committed. And I think that's one of the very few things that actually really can work is just pointing the camera right back at Big Brother, pointing that right back at Panopticon so it doesn't exist anymore.
I've seen that, and I've seen some of these police officers, they will look right at the camera and keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's
sometimes.
like they're animals.
Right, but I mean, what violent action can you take against them? If you can highlight it, though, hopefully there could be some restorative justice after.
David, thank you for the call tonight. Appreciate your thoughts.
One thing I would mention to David is that let's not forget about the Free State Project. The Free State Project as a solution, I think, I don't think there's any great solutions. There's nothing that's going to solve the crises that were created over the course of 9,000 years with the implementation of the state in a year. None of it's going to do it. And, people arguing about what works and what doesn't work. I don't think anything particularly works. But the Free State Project has concentrated people in a particular geographic area. And the hope is, people that believe in the ideas of liberty, and the hope is that somebody will come up with something. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do different things. We're going to create media.
At the very least, you have a community so you don't feel alone. And that is the real kicker for a lot of people, that they just feel really alone and isolated
I think it's
wherever
huge.
they live, because they don't have anyone around them who even remotely shares views about freedom.
Yeah, I love it when Ian really, calls on the people and says, look, you want to do this court activism, you want to go in there, and try out all these tricks, please come here and do it so we can record it.
Yeah, he
so
says
you
he'll
can
go to your
see
trial.
it. Yeah, and believe me, they will. This guy's
Yeah,
not
he will.
BSing.
Yeah.
He really will do it.
He loves
it's
that stuff.
amazing.
He will give up his job making telephone calls to radio stations during the day on his nationally syndicated radio program to go downtown with a video camera to record your traffic ticket trial.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
$5 traffic ticket trial here in Keene, New Hampshire. If you just show us the magic way to handle the courts.
Yeah, you want to take on the system, do it with a community. You're going to get a lot more, bang for your buck when you do that. Whether I agree with it or not as a tactic or whatever. If that's what you want to do, please get with a community, and there's a community here that will support you 100%.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.